Ever wonder how fragile life really is? Can a simple scratch or minor illness actually lead to death? For these 12 legendary figures, the answer was tragically yes. Number 12, Bob Marley, a toe injury. Did you know a toe injury could lead to someone's death? For reggae legend Bob Marley, that's exactly what happened. In 1977, Marley injured his toe while playing soccer. Most people would have gotten it treated and moved on with their lives, but Marley's Rastafarian beliefs prevented him from allowing doctors to amputate the digit when they discovered a form of malignant melanoma under his toenail. What seemed like a simple soccer injury was actually a Crowell lentiginous melanoma, a rare form of skin cancer. Despite the diagnosis, Marley continued to tour and make music for several years. He sought alternative treatments, including controversial dietary regimens in Germany under Joseph Issels. Unfortunately, these treatments couldn't stop the cancer from spreading throughout his body. By 1981, his health had deteriorated significantly. While flying home to Jamaica from Germany, his condition worsened dramatically, and he was taken to a hospital in Miami. On May 11, 1981, at just 36 years old, Bob Marley passed away, leaving behind a musical legacy that continues to inspire millions. What began as a seemingly minor toe injury ultimately cut short the life of one of music's most influential voices. Number 11, Jim Henson, pneumonia. Can a common illness like pneumonia really kill you in modern times? Jim Henson, the creative genius behind the Muppets, died from exactly that. In May 1990, Henson began feeling unwell, experiencing what he thought was just a bad case of the flu. He had a sore throat and fatigue, symptoms many of us would simply treat with over-the-counter medications and rest. Henson, known for his workaholic tendencies, initially dismissed these symptoms and continued with his busy schedule. By the time Henson finally sought medical attention, he was struggling to breathe. Within 20 hours of being admitted to New York Hospital, he passed away on May 16, 1990. He was just 53 years old. Doctors determined he had contracted a particularly aggressive form of pneumonia caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae bacteria, which had triggered toxic shock syndrome. What makes Henson's death particularly tragic is that antibiotics could likely have saved his life had he sought treatment earlier. The man who brought joy to millions of children through Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, and countless other beloved characters died from what many would consider a treatable illness. His death shocked the world and highlighted how even seemingly minor infections can turn deadly if left untreated. Number 10, Andy Warhol, routine gallbladder surgery. Is a routine surgery ever completely safe? Andy Warhol, the iconic pop artist known for his Campbell's soup cans and portraits of Marilyn Monroe, died unexpectedly following what should have been routine gallbladder surgery. After years of intermittent gallbladder problems, Warhol finally agreed to have the surgery in February 1987. He had delayed the procedure for years, fearing hospitals after surviving a near-fatal shooting in 1968. The surgery itself went without complications, and Warhol seemed to be recovering normally. Nurses reported that he was stable and in good spirits the evening after his operation. However, in the early morning hours of February 22, 1987, Warhol died suddenly in his sleep. The cause was determined to be cardiac arrhythmia. He was 58 years old. Later investigations revealed that Warhol had been overhydrated with fluids during his recovery, which may have contributed to his heart failure. Additionally, his weakened physical state from years of poor health likely played a role. The hospital was later sued by Warhol's estate for improper care. The artist who transformed American art and pioneered the concept of celebrity as we know it today died from complications of what most would consider a straightforward medical procedure, proving that even routine surgeries carry risks that can sometimes prove fatal. Number 9, Harry Houdini, a punch to the stomach. Can a simple punch to the stomach really kill someone? For legendary escape artist Harry Houdini, it did. Houdini was known for his incredible physical conditioning and ability to withstand blows to his abdomen. In fact, he would often invite audience members to punch him in the stomach as hard as they could as part of his act, demonstrating his extraordinary abdominal strength. On October 22, 1926, while backstage at the Princess Theatre in Montreal, a university student named J. Gordon Whitehead asked Houdini if it was true that he could withstand any blow to the abdomen. Before Houdini could properly prepare himself or tense his muscles, Whitehead delivered several powerful punches to Houdini's midsection. The unexpected nature of the punches caught Houdini off guard. Though in pain, Houdini continued with his scheduled performances over the next 2 days, despite developing a fever of 102 degrees and severe abdominal pain. He refused medical treatment until it was too late. When he finally saw a doctor, he was diagnosed with a ruptured appendix and peritonitis. In the era before antibiotics, this diagnosis was often fatal. Despite emergency surgery, Houdini died on October 31, 1926, Halloween, at the age of 52. A series of unexpected punches to the stomach had killed the man who had escaped from straitjackets underwater, survived being buried alive, and performed countless seemingly impossible feats. Number 8. George Washington's sore throat. Could America's first president really have died from a simple sore throat? On December 12, 1799, George Washington rode around his Mount Vernon estate on horseback in snowy, wet weather. He returned home with a sore throat, which worsened overnight as he developed a fever and struggled with breathing. The next day, Washington's condition deteriorated rapidly. Following the medical practices of the time, doctors performed multiple bloodlettings, removing nearly 5 pints of his blood over a short period. They also gave him various treatments including an enema, a mixture containing molasses, butter, and vinegar to soothe his throat, and even the application of beetles to his skin to draw out the illness. None of these treatments helped, and some may have actually hastened his decline. Less than 48 hours after first developing symptoms, on December 14, 1799, George Washington died at the age of 67. Modern medical experts believe Washington likely suffered from acute epiglottitis, a bacterial infection causing inflammation of the epiglottis, which can rapidly block airflow to the lungs. Today, this condition would be treated with antibiotics and possibly intubation to maintain an open airway. The bloodletting, which was standard practice at the time, almost certainly weakened him further. The father of a nation, the commander who led American forces to victory in the Revolutionary War, died from what began as a simple sore throat, highlighting how even minor ailments could quickly become fatal in the era before modern medicine. Number 7. Bruce Lee headache medication. Can taking a simple painkiller for a headache lead to death? In Bruce Lee's case, it tragically did. On July 20, 1973, the 32-year-old martial arts superstar and actor was in Hong Kong working on his film, Game of Death. After suffering from a headache, Lee took an Equagesic tablet, a common medication containing aspirin and the tranquilizer meprobamate. Shortly after taking the pill, he lay down for a nap at the home of actress Betty Ting Pei and never woke up. The official cause of death was listed as cerebral edema, brain swelling, possibly caused by an allergic reaction to the medication. Lee had previously experienced a similar reaction to another medication just months earlier, when he collapsed while recording dialogue for Enter the Dragon and was rushed to the hospital with brain swelling. Doctors were able to save him that time. Some medical experts have since suggested that Lee may have had hypersensitivity to certain ingredients in the medication, or that he might have had an underlying condition that made him vulnerable to such reactions. Others point to his extremely low body fat percentage and intense physical training regimen as potential contributing factors that may have altered how his body processed the drug. Whatever the exact mechanism, what's clear is that a headache medication, something millions of people take daily without a second thought, ended the life of one of the most influential martial artists in history, just as his Hollywood career was reaching new heights with the upcoming release of Enter the Dragon. Number 6. Alexander Fleming heart attack during a cold. Could the man who discovered penicillin really die from a common cold? Alexander Fleming, whose discovery of penicillin in 1928 revolutionized medicine and has saved countless lives, died on March 11, 1955, at his home in London. He was 73 years old. The cause of death was a heart attack, which occurred while he was suffering from what appeared to be a simple cold. Fleming had been battling what seemed like a routine respiratory infection in the days before his death. While such infections are rarely fatal in healthy individuals, they can put significant stress on the cardiovascular system, particularly in elderly people or those with pre-existing heart conditions. The additional strain caused by fighting the infection likely triggered the heart attack that ended his life. This creates a particularly poignant irony. The man whose discovery led to the treatment of countless bacterial infections died partly as a result of what was likely a viral infection, something his penicillin couldn't treat. Fleming's death highlights how even minor illnesses can sometimes lead to serious complications, especially in older adults. The world lost a brilliant scientist who had received the Nobel Prize in 1945 for his groundbreaking work to what began as nothing more than a common cold. Number 5. John Ritter chest pain misdiagnosed as heart attack. Can doctors really mistake a deadly condition for something more common? For beloved actor John Ritter, a fatal misdiagnosis occurred on his 54th birthday. On September 11, 2003, while rehearsing for his hit sitcom 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, Ritter began experiencing chest pain, nausea, and vomiting. He was rushed to Providence St. Joseph Medical Center, directly across from the studio where he was filming. Doctors initially treated him for a heart attack, the most common cause of the symptoms he was displaying. However, Ritter was actually suffering from an aortic dissection, a tear in the main artery carrying blood from the heart. This condition requires completely different treatment than a heart attack. By the time doctors realized the correct diagnosis and attempted emergency surgery, it was too late. Ritter died that same evening. An aortic dissection occurs when the inner layer of the aorta tears, allowing blood to surge through and separate the middle layer from the outer layer of the artery. This weakens the vessel and can quickly lead to rupture and death if not properly treated. The condition often presents with symptoms similar to a heart attack, making misdiagnosis a common problem. Ritter's death from what initially seemed like typical chest pain shocked fans worldwide and highlighted the difficulty in distinguishing between different types of cardiovascular emergencies, even for trained medical professionals. Number 4. Brittany Murphy pneumonia and anemia. Can a young Hollywood star really die from something as common as pneumonia? At just 32 years old, actress Brittany Murphy passed away on December 20, 2009, in her Hollywood Hills home. The star of films like Clueless and Girl, Interrupted had been battling flu-like symptoms in the days before her death. Her husband reported that she had been taking over-the-counter medications to treat what they believed was a minor illness. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office determined that Murphy died from pneumonia, with secondary factors of iron deficiency anemia and multiple drug intoxication from over-the-counter and prescription medications. None of the drugs were illegal, and all were at therapeutic levels, meaning she wasn't abusing them. The combination, however, along with her weakened state from pneumonia and anemia, proved fatal. What makes Murphy's death particularly tragic is that pneumonia is generally treatable with proper medical care. Her iron deficiency anemia, which had gone untreated, likely weakened her immune system and made her more vulnerable to the infection. Proper diagnosis and treatment of either condition might have saved her life. Adding to the tragedy, her husband, Simon Monjack, died just 5 months later from acute pneumonia and severe anemia, eerily similar causes to his wife's death. Murphy's passing serves as a reminder that even seemingly minor health issues can become life-threatening if not properly addressed. Number 3. Scrappy the Mouse, a blemish. Could a tiny skin blemish really kill someone? In the case of Scrappy the Mouse, perhaps the strangest entry on this list, a small blemish led to death in a most unexpected way. Scrappy wasn't a real person but a fictional character created by the cartoonists at Columbia Pictures in the 1930s as a competitor to Mickey Mouse. While the character himself didn't die from a blemish, his career did, and the story has become a legendary cautionary tale in animation circles. According to animation lore, Scrappy's demise came about when a small ink blot, essentially a blemish on the animation cell, appeared on the character during a screening for studio executives. This tiny imperfection so enraged Columbia Pictures president Harry Cohn that he immediately canceled the cartoon series on the spot. From a single small blemish, an entire cartoon character's existence was terminated. While this story may seem trivial compared to the actual human deaths on this list, it represents a different kind of death, the death of a creative entity due to a minuscule flaw. Scrappy the Mouse had appeared in over 70 theatrical cartoons between 1931 and 1941, but after the infamous ink blot incident, the character was consigned to animation oblivion. Today, few people remember Scrappy, while his contemporary Mickey Mouse remains one of the most recognized characters worldwide. It serves as a reminder of how small imperfections can sometimes have outsized consequences. Number 2. President James K. Polk diarrhea. Could diarrhea really kill a former president of the United States? For James K. Polk, the 11th president known for the significant territorial expansion of the country during his term, cholera-induced diarrhea proved fatal shortly after leaving office. Polk had worked extremely hard during his single term as president, 1845 to 1849, successfully achieving all his major goals, including the acquisition of California and the Oregon Territory. The stress took a visible toll on his health, and he left office physically exhausted. After leaving the White House in March 1849, Polk embarked on a goodwill tour of the southern states. During this journey, he is believed to have contracted cholera, a bacterial infection that causes severe diarrhea and dehydration. In the 19th century, before modern treatments and antibiotics, cholera was often fatal. Polk began experiencing severe gastrointestinal symptoms shortly after returning to his new home in Nashville, Tennessee. Despite receiving the best medical care available at the time, Polk's condition deteriorated rapidly. He died on June 15, 1849, just 3 months after leaving the presidency at the age of 53. Polk became the president with the shortest retirement in American history. What began as diarrhea, something most modern people recover from in a few days with proper hydration, killed a man who had recently been the most powerful person in America. His death highlights how diseases we now consider manageable were once frequently deadly before the advent of modern medicine. Number 1. Elvis Presley constipation. Could constipation really contribute to the death of the king of rock and roll? While drug abuse is often cited as the cause of Elvis Presley's death, many medical experts believe chronic constipation played a significant role in his demise. On August 16, 1977, Elvis was found unresponsive in his bathroom at Graceland. He was officially pronounced dead at Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, at the age of 42. The immediate cause of death was listed as cardiac arrhythmia, but the autopsy found evidence of polypharmacy, the use of multiple prescription medications. However, what many people don't know is that Elvis suffered from severe chronic constipation throughout much of his adult life. According to Dr. Nick Nishapoulos, who served as Elvis's personal physician for over a decade, the singer's colon was twice the normal length and diameter, and at the time of his death was packed with hardened, compacted stool that was 4 months old. This severe constipation was likely caused by a combination of factors: his notoriously poor diet, his abuse of prescription medications, many of which cause constipation as a side effect, and possibly an inherited condition called Hirschsprung's disease, which affects the colon's ability to contract normally. The enlarged, impacted colon put pressure on his heart and surrounding organs, potentially contributing to the cardiac strain that led to his death. During his final years, Elvis required frequent colon cleanouts under anesthesia. The strain of pushing during bowel movements may have triggered the final cardiac event, as he was found in his bathroom. What makes this particularly tragic is that with proper diagnosis and treatment of his digestive issues, along with addressing his prescription drug dependencies, the king might have lived much longer. Instead, what many would consider an embarrassing but minor health problem contributed to the death of one of music's greatest icons. Can you imagine dying from something most people recover from without a second thought? Would you recognize the warning signs of a seemingly minor condition before it became life-threatening?